Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, my dear students. I hope you people are fine. So welcome back after celebrating the Eid. Today is my first lecture after Eid. I will begin the topic now. The topic is neuromuscular blockers. As the topic is lengthy, so neuromuscular blockers, that topic is divided into two parts. First part, that is non-depolarizing neuromuscular blocker, which will be covered by me, and the second part, depolarizing neuromuscular blocker, which will be covered by Dr. Nilofer tomorrow, inshallah. So now I will continue with the lecture neuromuscular blockers. Now, what are the learning objectives of today's lecture? I hope you people are now fully understand what the term learning objectives. Classify the neuromuscular blockers, or what is the classification of neuromuscular blockers? Describe the mechanism of action of neuromuscular blocker. Explain the pharmacological effects and clinical uses of neuromuscular blockers. Then finally, analyze the adverse effects of neuromuscular blockers. So basically, there are two types of neuromuscular blockers: non-depolarizing and depolarizing. And we further divide non-depolarizing neuromuscular blocker according to their duration of action, that is short acting, medium acting, and long acting. Now, first of all, define what is the definition of neuromuscular blocker. The neuromuscular blocker drugs block the cholinergic transmission between the motor nerve endings and nicotinic receptors on neuromuscular end plate of skeletal muscle. They are the structure analogues of acetylcholine. They either act as antagonist in case of non-depolarizing neuromuscular blocker, or they act as agonist in case of depolarizing neuromuscular blocker at the receptors on the end plate of the neuromuscular junction. So they block the cholinergic transmission between the motor nerve endings and nicotinic receptors on the neuromuscular end plate of skeletal muscle. I hope you people now understand what are the action of acetylcholine on the nicotinic receptors on the neuromuscular end plate. The function of acetylcholine on the nicotinic receptor is that they activate the receptors and they cause the muscle contraction. And neuromuscular blockers block the cholinergic transmission, so they relax the muscle. Neuromuscular blockers act exactly opposite the way acetylcholine acts, so they relax the muscle, whereas acetylcholine contract the muscle. Now this is the diagram by which the showing by which how the muscle contract with the help of acetylcholine. It is all about, I hope you people fully understand the concept, how action potential travels and how it generate and how skeletal muscle contraction occur. Because this concept is taught in physiology in first and second year. Actually, it happens that an action potential in a motor neuron is propagated to the terminal button. The presence of an action potential in the terminal button, it triggers the opening of voltage-gated calcium channels and subsequent entry of calcium channels into the terminal button. Then calcium triggers the release of acetylcholine by exocytosis from a portion of the vesicles. Then acetylcholine diffuses across the space separating the nerve and muscle cells, and binds with the receptor site specific for it on the motor nerve and plate of the muscle cell membrane. This binding brings about the opening of cation channels, leading to a relatively large movement of sodium ions into the muscle cell compared to a small movement of potassium outward. Okay, when there's a large movement of sodium ion into the muscle cell occur, what happens? The result is an end plate potential. Local current flow occurs between the depolarized end plate and adjacent membrane. This local current flow opens voltage-gated sodium channels in the adjacent membrane. The resulting sodium entry reduces the potential to the threshold, initiating an action potential which is propagated throughout the muscle fiber. Acetylcholine is subsequently destroyed by acetylcholine esterase. Acetylcholine esterase is the enzyme located on the motor end plate, terminating the muscle cell's response. So in this way, muscle contract with the help of acetylcholine. Next, the nicotinic acetylcholine receptor. Which steps are involved? Acetylcholine are actually packed in vesicles of neuron. Then voltage-gated calcium channels open with action potential. Calcium moves into the neuron and triggers region of vesicles with the membrane. Then acetylcholine diffuses across the synaptic cleft where it binds with the receptor. Then conformational change in the receptor allows sodium in and potassium out. And finally, muscles contract. And then when the muscle contract and when the action is shown, then acetylcholine esterase in the synaptic cleft breaks down the messenger rapidly. Rapid response, rapid termination signal. So in this diagram, it is showing the whole process by which the muscle contract with the help of acetylcholine neurotransmitter. Now, first of all, why we need skeletal muscle relaxation with neuromuscle blockers in clinically? We need skeletal muscle relaxation with the help of neuroblockers when we have to use general anesthetics in case of surgery. When the patient is put on the ventilator, then we have to use general anesthetic along with neuromuscle blockers to facilitate intubation of the trachea, to facilitate mechanical ventilation, and optimize surgical working conditions for the doctors. Now, next, classification of neuromuscular blockers. As I have already told that neuromuscular blockers are divided into non-depolarizing neuromuscular blockers and depolarizing neuromuscular blockers. Non-depolarizing neuromuscular blockers are further divided into their according to their duration of action, that is long-acting, intermediate acting, and short-acting. Long-acting neuromuscular blockers examples include tribocurine, pancuronium. Then intermediate acting neuromuscular blockers examples include rocuronium, vicuronium, atracurium. Then short-acting neuromuscular blockers examples include mivacurium. Then in depolarizing neuromuscular blockers examples include succinylcholine. So this is the classification of neuromuscular blockers. Now the pharmacokinetics of neuromuscular blockers. All neuromuscular blockers are highly polar, so they are inactive orally. They must be injected intravenously. They are quaternary amines. They are highly ionized, so they do not readily cross the cell membrane. Volume of displacement is slight. Volume of distribution is slightly larger than the blood volume. So their volume of distribution is slightly larger than the blood volume. Duration of blockade is directly proportional to their half-life. Drugs excreted by the kidneys, the neuromuscular blockers which are excreted by the kidneys have longer half-life and longer duration of action. Whereas the neuromuscular blockers which are eliminated by the liver, they have intermediate half-lives and duration of action. All neuromuscular blockers are given parenterally. They do not cross the blood-brain barrier. Drugs metabolized by plasma choline esterase or eliminated in bile, they have short half-life. So some neuromuscular blockers are metabolized by plasma choline esterase, and the neuromuscular blockers which are metabolized by plasma choline esterase, they have short half-life, right, around about 10 to 20 minutes. And the drugs which are eliminated by the kidney, they have long half-life, like duration of action around about 35 minutes. Now the atracurium is the neuromuscular blocker. It is also degraded spontaneously into laudanum. In addition to its metabolism by liver and kidney, atracurium is also degraded spontaneously into a substance which is known as laudanosine, and laudanosine is slowly metabolized by the liver. It has a long elimination half-life, right about round about 150 minutes. And that substance readily crosses the blood-brain barrier, and high concentration of that substance may cause seizures. And this elimination of atracurium is also known as Hoffman elimination. So in case of prolonged surgeries, where surgery is prolonged, atracurium is avoided because it is degraded spontaneously into the substance laudanosine, which in high concentration may cause seizures. And its potent isomer of atracurium is cis-atracurium, which is relatively safe. So in your SAQ paper, it may be asked that what is Hoffman elimination. So remember the word atracurium with Hoffman elimination. Now these are shown different neuromuscular blockers and Their duration of action, atracurium duration of action is around about 20 to 35 minutes, and its metabolism is, in addition to metabolized by liver and kidney, it's also metabolized. Its metabolism spontaneously into the substance known as laudanosine. And myvacurium duration of action is around about 10 to 20 minutes, and it is metabolized by plasmacholine esterase. Tuberculin metabolism is, the duration of action is uh, greater than 50 minutes. So it is long acting neuromuscular blocker, and it is metabolized by kidney. Pancuronium duration of action is greater than 35 minutes, and it is metabolized by kidney. Rocuronium metabolism is 30 to 35 minutes, and it is metabolized by liver and excreted by kidney. And vicuronium metabolism duration of action is 20 to 35 minutes, and it's also metabolized both by liver and kidney. So the drugs like myvacurium, which is metabolized by plasmacolinesterase, they have a short duration of action. And the drugs which are metabolized by liver and kidney, they have intermediate duration of action. And the drugs which are metabolized or excreted by the kidney, they have long duration of action, like tuberculin and pancuronium. Non-depolarizing neuromuscular blockers, they prevent the action of acetylcholine at the skeletal muscle end plate. They act as surmountable blockers. Surmountable blockers, I hope you people understand the term. When you people read the competitive antagonist in Journal Pharmacology, what are surmountable blockers? uh, the antagonists which can be displaced by increasing the concentration of agonist. They prevent the action of acetylcholine at the skeletal muscle end plate. They are competitive antagonists of acetylcholine at the skeletal muscle end plate. Some drugs directly plug the ion channel of the acetylcholine receptor. Blockage overcome by increasing the amount of agonist. So they are competitive antagonist. Effect reversed by giving choline esterase inhibitors. Because choline esterase inhibitors inhibit the acetylcholine esterase enzyme, so concentration of acetylcholine will be increased, and when concentration of acetylcholine will be increased, their effect will be surmountable, their effect will be reversed. Now, the mechanism of action at low doses, they are competitive antagonists of acetylcholine. They compete with acetylcholine at nicotinic receptors, thus they prevent the depolarization of the muscle cell membrane and inhibit the muscle contraction. Their blockage can be reversed by choline esterase inhibitors. At high doses, they block the ion channels of the end plate. They enter the pore of the ion channel. This action further weakens the neuromuscular transmission and diminishes the ability of acetylcholine esterase inhibitors to reverse the action of non-depolarizing muscle relaxant. They can also block p-junctional sodium channels, thus interfere with mobilization of acetylcholine at the nerve ending. Now in this diagram it is shown, it's a neuromuscular blocker, pancuronium. Now what has happened, there is blockade when injection, after that injection there is blockade of acetylcholine receptors. There will be no depolarization of the end plate, there will be relaxation of skeletal muscles. So artificial ventilation is necessary. When our neuromuscular blocker, they are injected, artificial ventilation is necessary. The patient should be put on ventilator. Now, the antidote of neuromuscular blocker is choline esterase inhibitors, that is neostigmine is given to reverse the effect of neuromuscular blockers. Now, in this diagram, it is shown, it is the agonist, it is the acetylcholine. And in this case, the channels are closed, and when the acetylcholine, the agonist acetylcholine which binds with the receptor, the channels open, action potential generate, and the sodium channels open. And this is the normal phenomena. And in case of non-depolarizing blocker, uh, they will they are the competitive antagonist of acetylcholine. So they will prevent the activation of acetylcholine receptors of skeletal muscle and weight by the acetylcholine. Now, what happens when the neuromuscular blocker are given? Large muscles like trunk and abdomen, they are more resistant to neuromuscular blockade action. First of all, small muscles get paralyzed, then larger muscles starting relaxing. And when the recovery occur, it will occur in opposite order. That is, larger muscles recover more rapidly. That the larger muscles of trunk and abdomen, they recover more rapidly than the small muscles of which are small muscles like muscles of hands, foot, and face. So when the muscles are paralyzed, they are first smaller muscles are of hands, foot, and face are paralyzed, and then the larger muscles are paralyzed. And when recovery occurred, it is occurred in opposite way. That is, the larger muscles recover more rapidly than small muscles. Now the reversal of blocker action of non-depolarizing neuromuscular blockers are reversed by increasing concentration of the agonist. Now, which agonist? Indirect acting agonist at the receptor. Remember, what are the indirect acting agonists? Neostigmin. Okay, administration of cholinesterase inhibitors like neostigmin, they reverse the action of non-depolarizing blockers. Now, what are the uses of neuromuscular blockers? They are used when the patient, when the surgical procedure is going on for relaxation of the muscles. Then they are used for in case of tracheal intubation by relaxing the pharyngeal and laryngeal muscles. Neuromuscular blocking drugs facilitate laryngoscopy and placement of the tracheal tube. They are used for control of ventilation in case of severe bronchospasm, pneumonia, chronic obstructive airway disease. It may be necessary to control ventilation to provide adequate gas exchange and to prevent atelectasis. Then treatment of convulsions. Neuromuscular blocking drugs are occasionally used to decrease the peripheral manifestations of convulsions associated with the status epilepticus. So these are the uses of neuromuscular blockers. Now that is your assignments, that are your questions. So for this you have to listen the whole lecture and then you have to. Tuberculin is a dash neuromuscular blocker. Action of non-depolarizing neuromuscular blocker is reversed by the administration of which substance? Then pancuronium causes tachycardia to do blocking of which receptors? Large muscles are more dash to the effect of neuromuscular blockers as compared to the smaller muscles. You have to fill in the blank. Non-depolarizing blockers are competitive antagonists of which neurotransmitter nicotinic receptor. So please listen to the whole lecture and then do this. Now the adverse effects of neuromuscular blocker. First of all, most important adverse effect is respiratory paralysis. Action of full dose of neuromuscular blockers, they may cause respiratory paralysis. Patient will asphyxiate if mechanical ventilation is not provided. So neuromuscular along with neuromuscular blockers, mechanical ventilation is very important and those must be adjusted by an anesthetist. So dose of neuromuscular blockers must be adjusted, otherwise respiratory paralysis may occur. And next, autonomic effects and histamine release. Autonomic ganglia, it is weakly blocked by tuberculin. Pancuronium blocks the muscarinic receptors, and when they block the muscarinic receptor, they may cause tachycardia. Next, histamine is released by neuromuscular blocker. It is released mostly by tuberculin and mivacurium. Atracurium also release histamine to. Now the drug interactions. Inhaled anesthetics, they prolong the action of neuromuscular blocker. So in this case, along with inhaled anesthetic, dose of neuromuscular blocker must be adjusted. Aminoglycosides and antihistamine drugs, they prolong the action of neuromuscular blockers. So along with that drugs, the dose of neuromuscular. Now the effects of aging a disease. Older patients and older patients are more sensitive to the action of non-depolarizing blockers. So in case of older patients, the dose must be less as compared when the doctors use the dose in young patients. Patients with severe burns or in upper motor neuron disease, they are less responsive to the neuromuscular blockers. So in this case, the dose must be increased.